There are many stories of people who've been separated from their families at birth, and the journey to finding their way back home is varied, but typically has one common element: the pain of being separated from home. The people of Africa who were torn away from Africa at slavery are no different. And they are still hurting today, many of them, looking for a way back home. I was privileged to come across a man whose heart is entirely full of Africa, Prince Dynast Amir. And he's found his way back to Africa and his origins in Nigeria and Sierra Leone, and is very thrilled to be able to help other African Americans find their roots. I have him talking with us today about that journey. Welcome to the Summon, the African Summon, where we connect you to Africa and African culture. Today we'll be talking about the journey back home and finding your way back home. And be sure to invite your friends, neighbors, and loved ones and join us at the fireside for this conversation. Welcome, Prince Dynast.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much for having me. It really, really means a lot.
I call him my brother, and after watching everything he's been doing, it's the kindred spirit is clear. What African Summon is doing and Search for Uhuru is doing is very similar, trying to connect our people back to the motherland. And just tell us, who are you and what do you do?
My name is Prince Dynast Amir. I was born Albert Horton Hollis II in Sacramento, California, April 15th, 1982. And my initiative is to, our initiative slash objective is to build a bridge between the diaspora and Africa. So that's what I've been doing. That's been my calling. And not only that, now I want to build a bridge between humanity and Africa.
Beautiful. And during that time, I have gone through quite some of your work. Tell us about the journey to finding your origins and the journey, your experience in visiting Africa and what you uncovered.
I think it's important that so before we hit the record button, me and you were having a conversation. I was like, listen, you got to record this. People need to hear this. And you brought up how you consider your Black American, your African American brothers and sisters as brothers and sisters. And then you were saying that, many don't feel that way. And I had to explain to them, I had to explain to you that, just because you have one bad experience with someone from the continent, that shouldn't be reflective of the sentiment of everyone. And when I tell people that, when they ask, do I like Africa? I tell them that if my first trip, if Africa was that bad, because you have groups of people saying Africans don't like us, then you have the negative propaganda that's out there. If Africa was that bad, my first trip in 2011 would have been my last. If it's that bad. So I think conversations like that to start off are important, especially when we have a sister from the continent or a brother from the continent who we're conversing with. Now, listen, everyone doesn't think that way. Who was telling you this? Just because you had one bad experience with an individual should not stay in representation of everyone, because as Black Americans, we don't like to be stereotyped. So therefore, don't hold that against a continent of people, a continent of over almost 1 billion people, just because you had one bad experience. So just to put it in perspective.
So how did you find out that you were from Nigeria and from Sierra Leone, partly originating from?
So Sierra Leone, first time I went to Africa was in 2011. I went to Tanzania. So we land in Dar es Salaam, Julius Nyerere Airport, and I walk out. Go through passport control, get my bags. I'm not really sure what's on the other side of that door when we leave the airport terminal and go outside. So I walk outside and there's the locals are selling their SIM cards. Do you need taxi? Do you want to go on safari? Do you want tour? And so, we started talking and they were like, brother, where are you from? And I said, I'm Black American. I'm from, well, at first they started guessing. They're like, are you South African? I said, no. They said, are you Ghanaian? I said, no. They said, are you Nigerian? At the time, I didn't know, but I said, no. They're like, okay, where are you from? I said, I'm from America. They're like, okay, but no, where are you from? And they were like, I was like, I don't know. And I had to explain to them that, because of the slave trade, we were disconnected because they were asked, like, what tribe? So that sparked In Search of Uhuru. So, because you asked me, as far as the healing aspect, and that was part of the healing aspect as far as finding out where am I from, where my lineage comes from. So Uhuru means freedom in Swahili because Tanzania was the first country I went to, is a Swahili speaking country. So after that experience, I said, you know what? I'm going to dig deeper. So I came up with In Search of Uhuru, which means in search of freedom. And in that, I was going to uncover my African roots. And through that, found out I was Mende, Sierra Leone. Well, Black Americans were very unique because of slavery. We're a little bit of everything all over West Africa. But primarily, I'm Mende, Sierra Leone, and I'm Yoruba, Nigeria. So that's how that came about,
How
as
does it
far as the healing part too, as well. So, because at first it was just a venture, and I'm gonna go experience Africa, and then it turned into something bigger.
how does it feel to say I am Yoruba?
Ah, it feels great. It feels great. Same thing with Mende. It feels great. In fact, you know what? Right here, this is a Mende mask. I keep it next to me.
Mm.
And I got this, and actually, I got this in Senegal. So I'm a collector. So now I would say this: a lot of my African friends, they don't understand why I enjoy collecting, the masks. Because one of my friends, she was like, Dynast, it's like keeping a Christmas tree out year round because we only bring this out for ceremonies. I said, look, all right, well, I'm gonna keep my Christmas tree out year round. This I because I enjoy. I understand. Like I get it. She told me. But I told her. I said, look.
Well, put it this way: you missed too many Christmases, so you can't.
Exactly. Over 400 years of Christmases that I missed. So these are going to stay out permanently. All right, we're going to celebrate them. So, but I
Also,
remember she told me that, because and then she ends up buying me a Bakuba mask from Congo.
nice.
After that, so
What other parts of Africa have you been to?
uh, Kenya, Tanzania, South Africa, Namibia, which I love, Morocco, Senegal, Ghana, Nigeria, Togo, Benin. Haven't been to Cameroon yet. Mali. I feel like I'm missing a couple countries. But yeah, Sierra Leone, Liberia. Yeah, Gambia. Yeah. I think that's. I feel like I'm missing a couple countries, but that's the.
Well, we will not hold the not going to Cameroon against you.
Well, listen, I'm going. I'm going to Cameroon.
There
I'm
you
gonna
go.
listen. I'm gonna go to Cameroon. All right. Listen. I'm not gonna miss out on my. I know my Cameroonian folks have been saying you gotta come to Cameroon, and there's a lot of Black Americans who their DNA comes from
Bring
Cameroon.
them back to Cameroon. That's right.
So I gotta. I want to organize a trip there soon. So more than likely next year. So I'm going, but I like to visit first before I offer or host a tour there. So it's coming.
So is Africa the only part of the world you visit, or are you a lover of travel at heart and go to
I
other?
just like I've so as far as like visited it and been like overnight for a couple of days, it's only been in Mexico, Cancun. Everywhere else, like places in Europe, like so Amsterdam was just a long layover, London was a long layover, and that's it. I just go straight to Africa. Like I just, people ask me like, Dynast, have you been anywhere in the Caribbean? Have you been to South America? I'm like, no, I just go to Africa. Like I want to visit Brazil still and go to Bahia,
Mhm. But
but it's just right.
Africans there too.
Right, exactly. In fact, I don't know how true it is or not. They say there's more Yorubas in Bahia or in Brazil than there is in Nigeria. I don't know how true that is, but that's what they say.
So tell me, and I'll ask you the question now. So, um, the travel to Africa, has it healed anything? Is it just sentimental for you, or was there a longing in you before this trip and you feel like it's healed that void that existed? I'm trying to get into the mind of the average African American, how it feels to
Well, see, I ain't
explore
average.
history.
I'm not average. See, my friend was telling me I'm a unicorn, so I'm a little bit different. I'm not average. I'm a unicorn, especially when it comes to my journey. For me, the my original trip was just to go on vacation. Ended up turning into healing, um, and I was talking to another friend of mine last week, and he was saying, so my first trip was just a vacation, right? And he was saying to me like, Dynast, what makes you different is, see, when most people go to Africa, they're going on vacation. Now, when you go, you're going because you love Africa. And so there's a difference. And then, when I was in Senegal, I think this was back in 2015, my first friend I made in the continent, his name is Hamadou C. I met him in 2009 while I was in LA through a mutual friend. We didn't meet in person, but we were like pen pals for the longest. That we finally met like 2012 or 2013, something like that. He was like, Dynast, when you go to Africa, you're not going on vacation. When you go to Africa, you're returning home. So what was at first a vacation has now turned into something much, much bigger.
The reason I say average was not to make you seem average, but rather to have an into how the African American would feel. It's more to have an eye. Those who've been in the continent may not appreciate what it's like to have ancestors who were taken into slavery, who don't know where they are originally from, who have that background, that history. And now being able to, you having the ability to go back, and others haven't made the decision, or for some reason or another have not yet come to that point. I'm trying to figure out, how does it feel? Is there a void? And maybe try to put the question, how can it be helped? You're doing something great, taking people to Africa to help. And I think initially for many of them like yourself, it may just be, let me go see Africa. But down the line, it might be sharing that experience of maybe bringing the healing and saying, I've been back home. And
Right.
that's the premise from which I ask, to be able to,
No.
to leverage that and help others feel like you may be experiencing a void, and maybe this is a way to be able to heal that.
Right. Exactly. So the void was not knowing where I was from, not knowing where I was from, and then filling that void. But it's just every time I go, I learn something new about myself. It's a new adventure. I just, like I said, we leave Sunday. We're going to Nigeria for the Oshun Festival. Looking forward to it. So, so yeah, it's just it's something new every time I go, and I love it. I really enjoy the journey. This 12 year first time I went is 2011. This 12-year journey has been an experience, and I love it.
So let's talk a little bit about that experience. I know I saw you eating with your fingers, and hats off to you for that. That to me was proof that you're a convert, complete convert. You're the man of the soil. Tell me some of the experiences you've had in Africa, some of the things you that are so African that you experienced.
When the first time I went to Senegal, I went for an event called the Maga. It's in a city called Touba, which is a holy city. And so how I met, so I was doing some research on. I'm asking your question. I just gotta build the story. Okay.
Go ahead.
So I get a so I was researching like um Islam in Africa. And so a saint by the name of Sheikh Amadou Bamba comes up. And he's a sheikh he was considered a saint in Senegal. And so I called my Senegalese friend. I was like, who's this Sheikh Amadou Bamba guy? And what's this Maga? So the Grand Maga is celebrated annually in Touba. And it's in celebration of Sheikh Amadou Bamba. So I'm like, how am I gonna get to Touba from the car when I land? And where am I gonna stay? Just the logistics part. So I go on Facebook, I search Grand Maga, and I send a message. Hey, I want to come. They responded back, brother, when you come in, we're gonna pick you up from the airport. We're gonna bring you to Touba. We're gonna feed you. We're gonna host you. We got you.
Now that's Africa.
But and that's it. So because people will always say, Dynast, is Africa safe? I don't know anybody. I'm like, listen, you don't understand. I would be walking with my friends and I would just be like, hey, I'm hungry. They will grab my hand and then we will go into a complete stranger's home and they will feed us.
And expect nothing back.
Expect nothing back. Like this has happened. And so they pick me up. He picks me up. He takes me to Touba. And so it's like, all right, you hungry? Ready to eat? I was like, yeah. So they bring out the food in a big old bowl, and I was kind of expecting, hey, are the utensils coming? I didn't ask. I didn't say nothing. They just start digging in with their hands. And hey, I just thought, hey, when in Rome, do what the Romans do. I just start digging in with my hands. But that food was so good.
Awesome.
So that's as far as that. I think a lot of what people have to understand is just, especially when you travel to Africa, my experience has been so unscripted. Like I have an end goal, but getting to that end goal when I travel has been like unscripted, and the planning wasn't. Some people they got to have this, and for me it was. But hey, we got to the end goal. That's all that matters. And so I think that's what people have to understand sometimes when traveling, depending on what you want to do and having an open mind, that some things are going to be sporadic and you have to just embrace it. Like most people, they would have been in the same situation as me where they brought out the big old bowl and everybody's digging with their hands. They would have been like, but I jumped right in it. So I think that's the beauty of it. Okay, that answers your question in regards to eating with my hands. But of course, my coronation as Prince, getting my citizenships, climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, which I'm going to climb again. The relationships, the people I've met, the people I take to get their citizenship as well, to get their passports as well. It's a lot of experiences, a lot.
So there's a lot of talk about African Americans not liking Africans or Africans not liking African Americans. And I'd like to brush into that subject.
Go
So
ahead.
I, as a kid, growing up in Africa, watching Roots and hearing about slavery, knew that our brothers and sisters were out there somewhere. We're pulled away from here. So many years later, that's as much as I know that our people are out there.
Right.
So I end up in Europe and finally in the United States. And I am particularly in love with the United States because I thought, okay, these are our people, our people who were brought here, the ones I knew about from long ago. And then I find all this apprehension and like talk about African Americans not liking us. And I'm like, not liking us for what? Huh? And I'm completely confused and perplexed and can't understand how our own people wouldn't like us. Is there any truth to that?
No, I think what needs so I did a show yesterday. I have my own podcast, Search for Huru.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a show on so Ice Cube sat down with Tucker Carlson. And I thought it was an awesome discussion. I absolutely loved it. But of course, because of Tucker Carlson's associations, a lot of people were calling Ice Cube a sellout. And I'm like, how can Ice Cube be a sellout for having a conversation with somebody who he might not completely agree with? But what's wrong with just having a conversation? You know, I think what it is, man, a lot of people just don't want to have the conversation. Let's sit down and let's just talk. Okay, we have differences. Okay, let's talk about it. And I guarantee you, once these conversations are had, you'll find out honestly that a lot of the different or what are considered differences are reasons why one group doesn't like the other, are petty, are misinformed, are propaganda. And then I guarantee you we will agree more on than what we disagree with. But I think the first step is just having the conversation. And a lot of people like want to avoid the actual conversation, like just the actual conversation. They want to avoid it. Or they might have one conversation with one person, it doesn't go well, and then they want to paint, a broad brush, on everyone else. If that makes sense. So let's just like just having a conversation. Okay, African Americans, why do you think that we don't like you? Let's sit down. Let's just have the conversation. Well, I heard you call us a kata. Like, and then then I asked my African friends, hey, this is a kata word. We don't even know what that means. Like the majority of those they have no clue what it is. And then you know what it came from? A movie that Wesley Snipes was in called Sugar Hill. And in the movie, you have some Black American drug dealers, you have some Nigerian drug dealers. They get into a confrontation at a restaurant. The Nigerian calls them an akata, and then a fight breaks out. But people see this movie, and now they've taken it and ran with it.
What do you think Africa can do to help heal the wound, to help heal, to help the African American brothers and sisters heal the wounds they carry?
Well, I see. I think number one, it comes from within. Because no matter how much Africa reaches out, and Africa has reached out, it's up to the individual to want to, I guess, reciprocate that or actually engage. Me, no African reached out to me and said, come to Africa. I went on my own. And well, the person that suggested I went was an African American. And I went on my own. So I think that spirit has to be within, start from within. Because no matter how much Africa reaches out, if African Americans, don't want to go. They just don't want to go. And I run into that. But then you run into some who want to go and experience it after reaching out. But, you know, Africa shouldn't have to beg African Americans to come back home. There we go. Africa should not have to beg or roll out this red carpet for African Americans to come back
and
have a conversation, engage. There shouldn't be, you shouldn't have to beg.
And you'll bear witness in the very African spirit. The average African is open and welcoming, and you get there, you feel at home. So it will be a mystery for anyone in Africa to think there's anybody that belongs to Africa out there wondering if they should come home. You should go.
Go. Don't overcomplicate it. Go.
So what would you say to African Americans who would like to make Africa their home? What can they do? And by the way, do you consider Africa home? What part? You're from 3 countries. Which one do you consider home? All 3, or is the one you would say?
I got it. Senegal and Nigeria are both my homes.
You have homes there? I know you invest in real estate.
Not physical yet, but those I'm a citizen of those countries, so those are my homes. So yeah, I will have multiple homes on the continent.
Got you. So, and to those who would like to go settle there, what would you tell them would be the secret to being able to go settle down? How can they go?
I would say go visit. I would say go visit first. And when you go visit, but see, especially to my sisters, okay, my sisters, don't take this the wrong way. Don't allow you going to Africa be contingent on wanting to bring your girlfriends with you. Everything ain't gotta be a girls trip. Sometimes this is a personal journey. If you want to go, if your girlfriends don't want to go, then they missing out. Because trust me, you will be okay. You will be fine. The people are friendly. You don't have anything to worry about. So my thing is first, just go. Go visit, 10 toes on the ground, experience it. I will move around like I did, and then find which country best fits you.
Well, thank you very much, Dynast. And I appreciate your candid talk about Africa, your candid talk about your experience, your candid talk and encouragement for others to visit Africa. And it is very evident that you are a son of the soil. And I'd like to say to all our African American brothers and sisters that we love you.
Thank you. I love you too.
All right. And to all of Africa's children out there, I'd like to just say, Africa loves you. Be sure to come back home sometime within your lifetime. If you like this content, be sure to subscribe to our channel, like our videos, and share. Until next time, I'm Anondo Akono saying, thank you for responding to this song.